All right. So first thing first, today I would like us to touch few things. I would like us to touch hold on, let's get this one. I would like us to touch objects. That's number one. I would like us to touch objects. And then I would like us to touch array of objects, then object manipulation, then object accessing an object, accessing your access.
Boss, sorry, just increase your screen.
Yeah, I'll do that. All right, so we're going to do this today. Then immediately we're going to go into functional programming. So we're going to do all of this today. Is my screen okay now?
Yeah.
So first thing first, last week we talked about arrays, variables. We talked about how to access array, how to access elements of an array, a nested array, how to push to an array, how to remove from an array. There are four methods in which you can manipulate, remove, and add to array. You have the dot push, you have the dot pop, you have the dot shift, and the dot shift. So, and then we can access array or nested array, item inside an array, or item inside a nested array using the bracket notation. And also previously we talked about the operators, the assignment, the increment, how to increment the data, a value, how to decrement a value, then why do we need to use the const, when do we use the const, and then the variable, and then the let keyword, and how you assign variable, how you use the string, data type of string. And I think I mentioned using Boolean, what Boolean is. Although Boolean, you don't really use the Boolean like that. You just act on a Boolean. You just act on a Boolean. For example, when you're talking about acting on a Boolean, you can say, let's say const, let sum be equals to 10, for example, and then let digit be equals to 18, right? So now for us to act upon a Boolean, we could say sum, let's check, right, be equals to sum equals to digits. So there's this is an assignment operator. Why this is a strict equality operator. They call this a strict equality operator. In JavaScript, it is mostly 3. If you use 2, it's going to work, but then the best way by standard or best practice is for it to use 3, strict equality. So let me just put it here as a comment, strict equality. So what does a strict equality do? So basically, it's just for you to, here you can say, if you use an assignment operator, is you assigning a value or a variable to another variable. So that means, okay, this new variable will now be equal to this one. But when you are talking about assigning, a strict equality operator, that one is just basically checking if one variable is equal to another variable. So I can't say this, let's sum like this equals to this. No, because this is when you're declaring, it is expecting that you assign or you store a variable or a value inside the variable. But when you are using a strict equality, right? Strict equality like this, so you are checking that okay, is whatever we have inside sum equals to whatever we have inside digits. And then looking at this, our instance now, we have sum equals to 10 and digit equals to 18. So now let's check. We want to, whatever it is, the result here is we want to store it inside check. So now this is going to return a Boolean because a strict equality is like a check. You're asking, okay, is my pen equals to my biro, right? So in that case, what would be the response? That would be yes or no. And then yes or no in JavaScript is used as true or false. So in this case, we are checking that is the value of sum equal means strict equality, equal to the value of digits. There are different ways. If you use sum equal to digits, and then if you use sum equal to digits, it's actually two different things, right? So in some cases, when you are checking strict equality means you're checking the type of this, you're checking the type of it, and then you're checking the value of it. While this one may not check, sometimes they may check the type and check the value, and sometimes we only check the type and not check the value. So we'll give an example of that. But let's see how this works first. Now this sum equal to digits should return no, because sum is not equal to digit. Sum is 10, while digit is 18. So sum is not equal to digit. So this should return, let me copy this to my CodeCamp. So this should return a false. If I should console.log my check, I will get a false. Oh, sorry, check. I'll get false. So now in this case, what are you doing? You're acting upon a Boolean. So this is what a Boolean type of data. So when you say like this, check equals to sum, that's an assignment, right? This is assigning sum to check. But then when you check like this, that okay, I want to check if sum is equal to digit, then you get a Boolean response, true or false. So this is useful in the case where maybe you're working on a profile page, you're working on a user profile page. So you want to say if user ID, if user ID is equal to the ID, maybe whatever ID that you're working with is equal to ID, right? Then you can now maybe do anything concerning that. So this one will check. So if this user ID that we are using is equal to the ID that we're expecting, then maybe display their username or display their user data. So that's why the Boolean is very, very important. And then moving forward, we're going to see why we use Boolean and how best we can use it. So I was saying about the strict equality, like equal, and then two equal. Well, let's see how that works. So let's just use our console. So if I should say 10 equal to 10, I'll get a true. So if I should say 10 equal to this, I'll get a false. But then when I say this, I'll get a true. So now let's see. Let's see the difference now. Let's start again. This is it. 10. That's a value, right? Equal is if you say equal to 10, this is equal to true, right? Because is this strict equality will check the type and the value. Then the type of this 10 is what? Is a number. And the type of this 10 is what? A number. So that means we are getting both the type and the value is equal to this type and the value. All right. Now, in this case, if you say equal here, right, this is a number. The type of this variable is a number, while the type of this is what? Is a string. Okay, so the first thing is going to check, okay, the type, right? That's the first thing this one is going to check. Then because the type of this is different from the type of this, we are getting a false. That's strict equality. Strict equality will check the value and the type. But when you're using a normal equality, it's going to check only the value. It's not going to check the type. So in this case, when we have 10 equal to 10, it's still saying this as 10, right? It's not saying it as a string. It's only saying it as 10. And then this is also equal to 10. So it's returning a true. So that's why mostly when you are working with Boolean, when you want to act upon a Boolean or check for something or compare two value or two variables together, it is best. It is very best, the best thing that you can use to use your strict equality, which is equal. Because in some cases, maybe if you forgot, you mistakenly just type equal. And then you're expecting that this should throw an error because you don't want your number to be equal to your string, but you forgot to just put 2 equal to. Then this is going to be an error. Definitely your web page or your function or whatever it is you're working with is going to like have a bug or something. So that's why people will always prefer to go to the theory equality. So that will check the type and then check the value. Are we clear on that? Any question? All right. Thank you very much. That means we are clear on this. Okay, so that's that about that. Uh, yeah, the Boolean. I did not explain to this extent last week, so I just want to explain. So that's just basically how we use Boolean. And then we check for okay, let's remove this. Now let's see how we can talk about object for today. That one was for last week. So an object, how do you declare an object? We already know that we declare an array using the let my array be equal to this is an array bracket, right? So we can choose whatever we need inside this place like this. We can have both number and string and a nested array with numbers and string at the same time. So let's use A and then B. So this is an array that contains string, number, and another array. This same array can contain an object, but I want to explain an object first before I add an object to that. So what is an object? So we have an object is basically uh, a structure, another data structure, the data type structure, yeah, that actually allows you to access its values or its keys using a dot notation. Okay, if you have an object, most data comes in an object. Like, okay, let's say for example, we have the array of students in JavaScript, right? So, but then we don't want to get just the name of the student. We want to get other data of all of the students. So we have to get all of this data of one particular person into an object. For example, you can say let's to std1 profile be equal to an object bracket is this a curly braces. Here we have a normal bracket for my array bracket, while an object bracket is always a curly braces. You can see the difference. You see the difference between this, the difference between this. So this is a curly braces bracket and it's used for an object. So now, how do I pass my data? How do I declare data? How do I assign data to students one profile? Right. So the best way to do that, or the best way to do that is to say, okay, name, this student name, that's the keyword. Which keyword? More like a variable. Keyword is more like a variable. Which keyword are you trying to pass a value to currently? So you say name, and then since name is always in a string, you can say George, for example. Right, that's number one. Sorry, is the comma, right? Then the next thing is, let's say age. You can say age, and then George is very old, so let's just say 45, right? So now the next thing we can say performance. Performance, we say excellence. Excellence is a string, so we use a string, right? Then we can now say I think that let's just okay, let's say track. Let's say track front end. So this is an object. This is how you declare or you assign or you call and or you declare an object. You let the object name, this is the object name, equal to, then you open your object bracket, and then you have the list of keywords. You have a keyword and a value. This is a key, and then this is a value. A keyword more like a key, more like a variable. Remember, we have let as a variable here. But in this case, because this is inside an object bracket, then it is called a key. The key are what you use to access each of the values. If I want to access this George now, this George is a value for a key name. So, and this 45 is a value for a key age. So if I want to access George, let's say anywhere now, I want to display George name, right? So I'll just say console.log std1 profile dot. So if already with JavaScript, when you do dot, you already have the list of the key inside the object, right? So you have the age, the name, the performance, and then the track. So which one are we trying to access? The name. So you can just say dot name. So now you have the judge. So this one they call it a dot notation. In your JavaScript, you access an object using the dot notation. Although moving forward, in some cases, you may need to access your object or your keyword or your value using a bracket notation. That is just an advanced way. We'll get to that later. But for now, we access our object key and value. We access our object value using the dot notation. Dot notation. This is the bracket notation. My array, let's see, my array 2, that this is a bracket notation, while this is a dot notation. So that's how you access values inside an object. And then if I say you can still add, let's say I have first name, this is first name, for example, and then we have another one, last name, right? And then you can say George Usang, right? So I want to add the first name and the last name. I can actually use this to make a sentence, right? So I can say console.log, I changed this one to first name, that's why it's showing undefined. So console.log std profile.first name plus, so I want to have George Usang is, so I can have it this way, or I can use my template literal. So I will say std one profile dot last name, right? Oh, sorry, this should be plus. So we have here George Usang, right? So is, so I'll add another plus. That's one thing about using this plus 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 operator to add to strings. That's why most people use the template literal. All right, so is, so I'll add is here, then I'll add plus std profile dot age is 45, then another string years old. So now let's save these and see what we have. Okay, we have George Usang is 45 years old. I expect this to have a space. Okay, it's 45 years old. So the same way you can use your normal string to form a sentence, you can also do the same thing by using your object to form a sentence. What you need to do is just to know, okay, I think I know the keyword I need to use. First name, I know the keyword that I need to use. Last name, I need age, dot age, and then dot performance. And again, I would like to say this. Best practice, it is good, very, very good to have a very meaningful thing. A very, very meaningful thing. You don't want to say, okay, this is the first name, and then you now do FN. Fine, this means the first name also. But then this also means something. Because yeah, I think JavaScript, no, mathematics. Mathematics FN means function, right? So if someone just come and then see, or they see SCD1 so far the second, they will not be able to know what to do. But then if they see first name, they'll see this is the user's first name, this is the user's last name. So it is very good to maintain a very, very good keyword or key at your objective. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? All right.
Is it better?
Hello, better.
Okay. All right. So that is that about that, how to access your key or value inside an object. Now there are other things you can do with the object. There are other things. Let's assume that I don't even know the key inside my object. I don't know the keys I have. For example, maybe you have the data, you have an endpoint somewhere, right? Endpoint means maybe you have an API, you're accessing API somewhere. Maybe the backend person have data, right? And then the person gives you an endpoint for you to fetch data from. But you don't know the key inside this data for you to even know what to use to access the person. So how can I even how can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's not clear.
I will just pause. Okay, so all right, thank you. So now what I'm trying to say is you have a data from a backend, you get the endpoint. We're going to get that where you start fetching from the backend. So you get the endpoint and then you don't know the key of this data. You don't know how the data is being structured and how it's being sent from the backend. So you need to get the keys of this object, right? So that when you get the key, you can then know how you can access each of these data using their key. How do I even get the key? So we have three ways in which you can get stuff from an object. You can get the keys directly, then you can get the values directly. If you are using std1.profile, that means you are getting one at a time. But in this case, you want to get all the keys and then you want to get all the values. So we have first thing you can use object dot keys. This is one of the methods in which you use to get the keys of an object. And then at the same time, we still have another one to get all the value of the object at the time, object dot values, right? So if you use object dot keys, you get all the key of a particular object. All you have to do is to pass the object name here, right? And then here also you pass the object name. So now let's try that. Let's see what we have now. Let's say object.key. Let me just assign it to a variable. Let's keys or obj key. Let obj keys be equal to object.keys, right? And then I will now pass the object that I want to get the keys. So I'll say std1 profile, right? Now let's console this console.log obj key. Then I'll get all the keys inside. See, we have first name, we have the last name, we have the age, we have the performance, and then we have the track. So with this, you get to have all the keys inside a given object. So if you can now store this inside, currently we've stored this inside an object key. Now it is an array, as you can see. And at the same time, I can still access each of these key, each of these. Now it is an item inside the object key array. Okay, as you can see, we have the array bracket, and then we have each of the items shown as string divided by a comma. So if I should say object.key one, I get this, already object key is now what? Is now an array. So I can access any of the items inside the array using the bracket notation. So that's that to get the key of an object. If I want to get the value of an object, okay, I'll take that just a minute. If I want to get the value of an object, I can say object value. This should be small o. So object value equals to object dot value dot values. So we have std1 profile. So now let's console that again. Console.log obj value. So I will get all the value of my object. I have the judge, the Isan, the 45, the excellent, and then the what? I said excellent, and nobody performance is excellent. And then I have the front end. So with the help of object.values, I get all the values inside my object. And then with the help of object.keys, all of these are methods, right? Then I get what? The key, or the key I have inside my object. All right, just
Okay, so this object dot keys, it has like it's JavaScript kind of its own functionality for this purpose. Like if
exactly,
we put
exactly. Okay.
okay. So if we put
Do you want
another thing like maybe value dot keys or let's say another name, it will not work as well.
No, it will not. It will not work. The object.key is a constant method, is a method on its own. Object.key.
Okay.
So it's just
Okay.
checking the object. Do you understand? Yeah.
Okay.
So if you say we want to try using gospel.key, there's nothing because it's not going to find anything. Gospel is not defined, as you can see there.
Ah,
So you're not defined, bro. Go and define yourself. Okay, that's that about the object of keys and then the object of value. Now, this is where we are going exactly, where when they say, okay, you're working with data, you're manipulating data, and then you need to use your data however you want to use it. Okay, Abire, please.
Please, you need to go over this again. I didn't really get what the object values are
Okay,
doing.
okay. But did you get the object itself? Did you get this object itself?
We defined it up.
This is it. Did you get this object itself? Did you get how an object is being arranged and structured, how it's being assigned and all of that? Did you get this? Did you get the explanation here? If you don't get it, just say
I
it.
guess this. I don't really get it. If it has to do with the judge, those things you defined up, George, sang 45 and excellence, I guess.
Okay. I guess you don't really like George. I guess you don't really like George. I'm joking. All right, so this is it. Like I said, I said we have a bracket notation. Sorry, a bracket. Okay, let's take all the questions. Sammy, okay.
Okay. Good morning. I just wanted to ask you to please explain what I do because I just joined the class now, so that's a little lost.
All right. Well, it is not the best practice. I will do that. Can you mute yourself? All right. It is not the best for us to come late and expect us to start all over again because if we keep doing that, then even the person that comes around 11 or 11:45 will still expect us to start all over. So let's just try as much as possible to come on time. JavaScript is not something we'll go forward and back. All right. So this is it. I've explained street equality. We are not going back there. Maybe you watch the video to see that. Street equality is how you use your Boolean when you're acting upon your Boolean, how you get a true or a false, and why do you need it. And the difference between a normal equality. Equality is equal to, and then the street equality equal. The difference between those ones. Now, after that, we said, okay, we have an object, right? Initially, last week we talked about an array, how you assign values into an array variable. So we say we use the brackets. This is the bracket. This is the array bracket, right? So anything here is now an array. We have the string, a number, and a nested array. At the same time, we can have other things here, which is an object. But I don't want us to put the object first because we need to talk about the object. What is an object exactly? So an object is, like I said, for you to assign a value to an object, you use an object bracket. And how do you do that? Is just by opening an object, right? Just like this. Let me not delete that. You say, let's, for example, my object here equal to, then what you do first is you open an object bracket. And what do we need an object bracket? We need an object bracket to be able to have key and values. Let's say you want to talk about one person, one particular person, and that person has different properties, right? So, and you don't want to have an array of property like, okay, let's say, Aisha be equals to, then you now start naming Aisha, that's her name. Then you have another one, the age 45, you have another one, the last name. You won't really know which one is which one. Some person can just come and then check the array and then see Aisha and then see the surname and then see something else. They don't know which one is the surname, which one is the last name. So in that case, with the introduction of an object, right, so that we can have a key that represents the user's name, the user's username, the user's email, the user's age and performance, and every other thing that you want to put. So in some cases, when you're working with a very big website or web page, and then it requires user information. If you check profile, there are a lot of things you can get from a user: first name, last name, email address, employment rate, job opportunity, a lot of things you get in a user profile. So in that case, since we need some certain information for a particular person, so we use an object to store that information. You cannot use an array to store information of one particular person. Multiple information. It's not one, it's multiple. So that's why they come about an object. So if you have, okay, you have students in class. That's why I say student profile. You have students in class, one particular student in front end. So we can just say it as a student. Let's just say STD, for example. This is a student. And then what information do you need from this student? What are the information you need for the student? First thing we need the first name of a student, right? So let's open this. We don't know the name yet. Let's just do that. So we need the last name, right? So let's do this. And then we need, let's say we need the email address. That's another information that people use, right? We need phone number. That's another information you get from a profile. We need profile picture. You can just say profile. Let's just use display picture, right? So you can't have this actually. You can't have this in a key. So it has to be an underscore, or you either have it together like this, or you have an underscore. So like this, and an object is separated. Okay, you can have a camera case also. You can have let's say you want to have track ID, something like this. You can have track ID like this. This one work fine also, but you can't have a dash in between like this. It's not going to work. So now all of this key, or all of this property, because one of this like this is a property. So all of this is being separated by the comma. If you use this, it's going to throw an error because it's expecting a comma. This is more like ending a particular object. It's not like ending it. So we don't want to end it. We want to like give a comma that, okay, we still have another property. We still have another property. So now we have our track ID. You can save them. And one thing again, I forgot to mention, every object should have an ID. Every object should have an ID. So like this now, this should have an ID. You can say ID1, right? Don't forget your comma. And then this should also have an ID. So you can say ID1, and then don't forget your comma. Why this is having 1 and 1 is because they are different. So that's why I just put 1 and 1. When we are working with object array in an object in an array, we're going to have different ID for each of the objects. But for now, this is an object. So now we have let std be equals to all these properties. So if you need the student's profile now, all you have to do is to call this std and then use your dot notation. When you're trying to access an array item, you use the bracket notation. But in this case, we are trying to access an object key and a value. So you use what? A dot notation. So that's why we come up with what? I think I remove that. So we say console.log. If I need to get the ID of the student, I'll say std dot, that's the dot notation, dot what? Dot ID. So then you get, okay, the ID of the student is equal to 1. In some cases, you can say, if the ID of the student is equal to 2, please don't display the ID. They can say, okay, I want to flag the ID. I want to flag ID from one place to another. I need to flag ID from 1 to 10. So in that case, you can say if ID, well, we've not gotten to if statement. If ID, student ID is less than or equal to, let's say 20, right? So now this is checking, okay, this is true, right? Now, what do you want to do if student ID is less than or equal to? That means any student ID that is below 20, I want to do something with those students. So that's, but then let's not go to that. So now I'm accessing student ID using the std.id. If I need the student name, all I have to do is just to do std.what?.name, last name, and then I will get the last name of the student. What's going on? Okay, it's an empty string. Sorry, let me just put something. Let's say Abiri. No, let's not use Abiri. Let's use something simple. So email ss@simple.com. And then we have phone, let's move this. Then we have picture. So picture is mostly an IMG, something like this. Down.
It's supposed to
So
note
now,
tracked instead of track.
okay. Track. Thank you very much. All right. So this is just I'm just giving an example or an instance of object that we can have. So if I want to access any property here, if you go to any page, like okay, you want to go to the profile page of this particular person on your website, right? So what you need to do, you need the last name and the first name to be displayed. So you can just say let's profile, or let's say something like this, be equals to std.firstname plus std.lastname. But don't forget, this is going to join it together. We're not going to have an addition, something like this. So we need a space in between. So we have to use something like this. So now you can say, let me console.log pri. So we get simple so. So this is very useful when you need to display information of the user in their profile page or landing page or whichever page you need to display. And then I will always do that we use a template literal to do all of this additioning. If your first name is different from your last name and you need to join them together, I will always advise that we use a template literal to do that. So we can say first name, std.firstname, then from here, you just have to add your space bar. You don't need plus or anything. Then add this, the last one. You can now say std dot last name. So then you still get the word simple so. So in this case, you don't really need the plus, and all of this thing. This is going to be more like you're writing a normal text. So now that is how we access key. They call all of this key, object key. So that's why this is a key, this is a key, this is a key. Everything assigned to all of this key is what? Value. So we have our key, then we have our value. All these key are more like variables, more like a variable. Remember, these are supposed to throw error. They're supposed to throw error because they are text, but because they are key, not value, that's why they are not throwing any error. So we're able to access each of these value using this key. Now, in the case where I'm fetching data from the backend and I don't really know the key from the object, I don't know which key the backend developer has used to write his own object. This is me because I know. But what if I don't know the keys and I want to use the key for something? So how do I access each of these keys? So then we'll come about a method, a JavaScript method that you use to access keys. So we say, okay, we are talking about an object. So we use object.key. And like just asked, can I use something else to replace this object? Is it like an inbuilt function or an inbuilt JavaScript method? Yes, it is an inbuilt JavaScript method. Objects cannot be changed. Object.keys cannot be. If it is key that you need, it has to be object.keys. And if it is the value that you need, it has to be the object.value. So the only thing that will be changing is this object name. Whatever it is that your object name is what that will be passed here. All right. So now in this case, we are saying object key equals to object.keys. I want to get all of these keys. I need to get all of these keys to a single variable. So I will now say object.keys. Then I'll pass. What did I call this place again? What did I call this? Whatever that we have here is called a parameter or an argument. So in this case, we are going to just pass an argument and say object.key std. Right? So here also I'll say object.value std. Object.key is used to get all the key in an object, while .value is used to get all the values in an object. So if you even over on it, you get to see everything. You get to see, as you can see now, we have the keys, right? This is std showing us the object, right? So then we have .keys. Then we consider a lot object key here to get ID, first name, last name, email, phone. As you can see, these are the keys. While the second one, which is object value, we console line 39, we get the values, each of them one after the other. So at the same time, I was saying that when you do something like this, object.keys return an array of the keys. So this method is returning an array of keys. As you can see, they are array. because array it will always be inside an array bracket. So now we have an array of keys. Okay. At the same time, I can access any of these key, any of these item using my bracket notation, because object.key now is now what? An array. So I can now say, let me now access anyone. I can say 5 to get my display picture. I can say 3 to get my email. I can say 2 to get my last name. So the same thing for my value. I can say 5 to get my this. I can say 2 to get my this, and I can say 1 to get my simple. So I cannot say object value dot. It's not going to work. Although there are a lot of things, there are other methods that you can use to manipulate your array. You can use a lot of methods that we have here, so you can use to manipulate your array. But we're not going there yet. We're just taking it one step at a time. So Abi, and Sami, are we together now? Do we get the idea here? So we use object.key to access the keys and the object of value to access the value. And this object, like I said, is an inbuilt JavaScript method. It cannot be changed. So the only thing that will change is the parameter or the arguments that you pass inside this parenthesis. Are we okay?
Yeah, clear.
Yes.
All right. So here's the information we got from that one. We want to get both value and key once, like we don't want to get it separately. If you want to get both value and keys, it's just, I think you can just console.log the data itself. Just get the data itself. If you console.log data itself, you get the value and key. But I don't know what you mean by the value and key, but just console.logging the data itself, you get the value and key like this. And then if you want to get value and key together, you have to maybe just write this. Okay, let me tell you something. I don't know what is on your mind, but let's assume you want to get value and key together. You can say, let's together be equals to. So I want to wrap my object.keys and object.value inside an array. So I just open an array, and then I can now say object.keys, right? So what is okay, std, then comma. Remember, all of this is an array, and I'm storing it inside what? An array also. So that means you're having a nested array, and this array will be returning the object.keys and the object.value. This may be a little bit much, but then it's still very simple. So console.log t get. So this is going to display both the object.key and the object.value together. So as you can see here, we have object.keys here inside one array, a nested array, and then object.value inside and another nested array. So just by putting everything, the two together inside another array bracket, and then assigning it to what? To tget will give us both the key and the value. I don't know if that's what you're asking for. That's the only thing I can answer it. Now, having done this, we want to have an array of objects. We want to have an array of objects. All right. So what I mean by array of objects is I have front-end students, and I have about 10 students in front end. And each of these students are going to have what? Their own values. They're going to have their own properties, right? So I want to have this object separately inside my array of objects. So what do I do? It's very simple. But I will just say, let front end student data be equal to at some point, because let's not get confused, at some point when you are writing JavaScript, you just write it however it is coming. So right now I'm not using camel case, although that's what I should be using, but I'm so much used to, okay, let's just use front-end student data equal to, right, an array. So now inside this array, I want to have objects. Object of what? Of students. So I'll just say this, the first object with what? Name of student, name, okay, just name. right, comma. Then the second one, I would say age, comma. Then the third one, I would say track, or let's say level, right? Then the third one, I can say performance, right? So this is going to be an object for one student. So I need more. I don't need just one. And remember, you can store multiple items inside an array. The same way you can store multiple string, you can store multiple number, you can also store multiple objects inside an array. An array item is separated by what? By comma. So we have comma. So then next object, right? But then I don't want to repeat myself. So I paste this here. Oh, sorry. Paste this. Again, paste this. Again, paste this. So now, in this case, I can say I have what? 1, 2, 3, 4 students, for example, in front-end development. So, and then I can have each name or different name. I can have S. Sami, right, as student 1. I can say 80 years old, because Sami is really,
The ID will be important here.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for saying that. So we have ID 1, right? That's for student 1. Then we have ID 2, that's for student 2. Then we have ID 3, that's for student 3. We have ID 4. The ID is important so that you can easily access. Fine, we can access them by their name, but in some cases, you may not even know the name. So we just want to access them with the ID. It is very best to access an object using the ID. You can remove, add, and do a lot of stuff with the ID. So we have Sami, age, level, stage 6, performance. This should be a number, level string. 6, performance, excellent. Okay, so another person, let's say Mercy. Age, is Mercy old? Mercy should be old too. Okay, level 6, performance, excellent. All of now the top excellent. Excellent. All right, so let's another person. Aisha, age, let's say 45, level, let's say 6, also excellent. And the last person, I want to use new person. Ayo, no, I don't need Ayo. Okay, I think I'm gonna use Chinwe. All right, Chinwe. Okay, Chinwe. Age 66, level 6, performance excellent. Right. Now, in this case, we have 4 students. It's assumed that we have 4 students in front-end class. And then each of these students have their own different profile. This is Sami's profile. This is Mercy's profile. This profile can be menu, can be more. You can have like 50 or different key. So depending on what you need for your own data. So we have here Chinwe, and then we have Aisha's profile, right? So, and then everything is what is stored inside an array. And then the array name is now what? Front-end student data. Now, let's assume that I want to access any of this name, right? I will just say console.log front-end student data. I want to access the first one, 0 dot name. Let's not get confused. The first thing I'm trying to access, I want to access the first object. Accessing the first object means using, remember, array index will always start from what? 0. Don't worry about the ID. Array index always starts from what? 0. So now I want to access the first object inside my array. So I say what? Front-end student data, bracket notation, 0. That will give me what? The first object, and this is the first object. Now, inside the first object, I need the name. And remember, this this thing is what? Is an object. And the only way I can access key or a value inside an object is use what? The dot notation. So say dot. And what exactly do I need? I need the name. Just click on the name. And then you get your SAMI. So with this, I can easily get front end data is 0.name. I have data 1, data 2, data 3, data 4, right? If I want to go to the last one, which I don't know the number, I'll say front end students dot length minus 1 dot name. That will give me the last person or the last data inside my front end student data array. So then we get to change. So the same thing you can use, you can get your ID, you can get your performance, you can get anything that you want to get. Just first thing, get the object first. Then after getting the object, you now get the object key or the value that you need inside the object. Yeah, you can have a nested object also. You can have array inside an object. You can have object inside an object. Let's say, for example, we have Sammy here, and then we may have, I want to have scores. Let's say I want to have task and scores. So I can say task. Task is also going to come with an object, right? So you're assigning another object inside the object of Sammy. So we want to have array. Okay, yeah. So I can just say task. I have solution 1, solution 2. I can say solution 1, then assign it to something. Solution 2, assign it to another thing. Just like this. So if I want to access this solution 2 now, I have to do dot dot. So if I'm able to access the first one, which is the first data, 0. So this is accessing what? The first person, which is Sammy, right? But then what I want exactly is the solution 2. I want to get the value of solution 2. Like, let's just put it, right? So, and where is solution 2 located? It's located inside the task. So all I have to do is to dot task. That's the first thing. Dot task to get the object. Remember, task is also an object. So then for me to now get into solution 2 now, I will say dot solution 2. So with this, I can get front end student data dot task dot solution 2. So at the same time, I can also have an array. I can say, let's say submissions. You know, you guys have a lot of submissions, right? So I can have an array of submissions like this. Okay, comma here. So I can have array of submissions. Now, inside this submission, I have multiple submissions. I can say sub 1, right, comma, sub 2, comma, sub 3. So all of these things is just basically me trying to explain that we can have anything however we want to have it. As far as object array is concerned, you can have an object inside an object. You can have object inside an array. You can have array inside an object. You can have array inside an object, array, object, array. At some point, by the time you fetch some data from backend developer, and then the structure of their data is going to want to make you go crazy, because they will have nested objects inside an array inside an object. Like, it's going to be so nested that you want to go mad. So all you have to do is to look at the data first, try to control the data and understand the structure, understand the accessibility, how you can access each of these data if you need any of it. That's the first thing you have to do. Just look at the structure and then see, because this one is really small. This my structure is really, it's not even complicated. So in some cases, you have a very complicated data. Just the first one like this will be so complicated. So you have to just look at it and see, okay, how can I access it? Remember, when you are accessing an object, you use the dot notation. When you're accessing an array, you use the bracket notation. So in this case, I need someone to write inside the chat that I want to access this. Let me make it complicated. Project submission, right? So I want to make it a little bit complicated. Final. Okay, sorry. Final right? And then I'll say 100%. So I want to access this 100%. Let me reduce the distance so we can see it properly. I want someone to write the solution inside the chat. How can I access this 100%? This is the only thing I want to display for the user. So I need to display my 100% for the user. Now, I'll just look at the structure very well. Just start from the beginning, then go to the next one, see the structure, the arrangement, the hierarchy of the structure, and see how you can access it one after the other. So let me see. I need solution in the chat. I need solutions. I need solution. What I want to access is the 100%. Remember, I want to display to the user. So how do I do that? Any answer? Anybody?
Can we say it since using it? Can we say it instead of type?
Okay, if you cannot type it, I like it to be typed actually, but if you cannot type it, just say it. Just say it. Say what you have.
Okay. Front end student data. Sorry, okay, front end student data.
Yeah.
1.
Okay, let me do that. Let me just type it out. You said front end
student data.
Since someone has said something, okay. Well, before we go to that, front end student data 1. You mean one like this?
Yes, 1.
Okay.
Then another bracket 2.
Another bracket 2.
Then we have another one 2.
Okay, 2.
Dot project sub.
Dot project sub. Okay. Is that all?
0. No, 0.
0.
Dot final.
Dot final. Okay. Any other person? Okay. Someone has sent something here. He said object.value front end student data 0 dot submission dot project sub dot final. Okay. So any other one? Or just one more, just one last one, please.
Project sub 0 dot final. Mistake here.
Okay, for you, Abi, Ridwan, Abi.
It has to be 0 since it's
Okay.
also in an array.
All right, let's check it out. Let's check what we have. Let's try that first. So paste this, and then you said this should be project sub 0 dot final, right? So I'm getting undefined. I think you're wrong. I think there's a mistake somewhere. All right, let's start. Let's try this. Who is that? Please, can you mute yourself? Okay, I got another solution. Let's try this first. Let's George solution be equals to this. Okay, front end data. Okay, I need to change this. We have front end student data. Okay, 1, 2 project sub. Okay, dot final. All right, can I read property of undefined project sub? I expect us to get this thing right, Sha. So let's see the last person. Oh, direct message. Interesting. I don't understand. Okay. I think I was the one trying to. All right. So here is the thing. I expect us to get it, Sha, but here is the thing. Let's just look at it first. We have an object. I'm going to cancel out this object. Let's close this. So the first thing is we have our object inside an array. So the first thing we need to get is the first item inside this one, because this is what we need. Everything we need is inside this first object. So first thing we say, let's result be equals to front end student is 0. That's the first thing. Let's get the first item first. Then after getting the first item, we now want to go inside our submission, because here is what we have 100%. And this thing, everything is inside what? Submission. So we do dot submission. After getting our first item, we do dot submission, right? Then, okay, after that, our submission now is an array, okay? An array of what? Sub1, which is the first item, sub2, the second item, and then the last object, which is the last item, right? So we have 1, we have 2, and then we have 3. So we have to access this one because everything we need, or what we need, is inside the last object. So we do.
Doesn't array start from 0?
Yeah, it does. It starts from 0. So this should be 2.
Yes.
Right? So because we have 0, 1, and 2. So now we are inside what? We are inside submission 2. We are inside this project sub. Sorry, this object. Now inside that object we have project sub. Inside this object we have project sub. We are supposed to have more. If you can say, okay, we want to have more, but then in this case we only have one item inside this our object. So since we are already inside this object, we need to access the project sub also. So we do what? Dot project sub, right? That's that. Then the last thing, okay, project sub is even an array also. So we have to get the first item inside an array, the first object inside our project sub. Oh God, this is a complicated, I'm sorry. All right, then we get to the final. So we say dot final. So console.log rest will give us 100%. Oh, we have errors here. Let's remove it. Okay, so that's it. This is a very simple. This is one of the tasks we're going to be having. We are going to have this week. We're going to have something like this week, and then we have to look for a way to get to the right answer. All right. So what we have to do is to calm down, look at everything one after the other. What am I actually trying to get? I want to get 100%. All right. Now start from the beginning. My 100% is inside an object, which is inside an array, which is inside another object, and inside another array, right? And then this array is also assigned to submission, which is inside another object. And my object is inside an array. So first thing is front end sub, get the first array. Since this one is the first object inside the array, get the first one, is 0. Then after getting this first object, we now want to go to submissions, because what we are looking for is inside submission, dot submission, because it is an object, right? So we use dot. Then our submission is what? An array. So we want to get the third item inside our submission. Remember, submission is an array. So we use array bracket notation to get the third one, which is the 2. Then after getting that, we have project sub as an object inside our third item. So we have dot project sub, which is also an array. Then we get a 0 and then dot final. It's a little bit complicated, but I know maybe next time we are going to get it very fine. George.
No, but boss, we can console the log as we move to each item if we're confused. Can't we do that? Can't we just
I did not.
front end?
I didn't.
You say?
Come again. Can you come again?
I said, in order to get to 100, if we are confused, we can console the log each step.
Exactly. Thank you. You can just console the log. You can definitely. However you can debug your code to get your answer. Just do it.
Okay.
All we want to do is just have your final answer. All right. So that is just that about that. If I want to get the second one also, I'll just use one. Okay, Baruwa, I'll meet yourself.
Okay, I want to ask a question about this poker. I just installed the extension, but I'm not getting any input or output, I mean.
You have to launch it. You see something like this here, Coca, right? At the bottom of your VS Code. Just click on it and then you see launch Coca demo something. I can't remember. So when you click on it like this, you see this interface, right? Just wait for it to load finish. Then you see launch interactive demo. So when you click on launch interactive demo, you have all these things here. So just highlight everything and remove it. Then you can start acting. All right.
Okay, you have to launch first.
Yeah, you have to launch it.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. No, it's okay. Okay, so after that, I think we covered accessing an object manipulation, right? Array of objects and functional programming. Okay, let's get to functional programming, which what we are going to do today is just the map. We want to use .map. Map is another method, is an array method that is used to access objects in an array. So why do we need map? Let me just put it down here. .map method. Why do we need map? Right? In the case where we have multiple objects in an array, I don't want to be saying front end 0 to get bright, front end 2 to get the next person and all of that. I'll have too many codes. So with the help of map, I can easily map through all these items. I can easily map through this array and then display every item that I need inside the object. So map is a JavaScript functional programming method that is used to map through an array to access each of the objects inside an array. So oh yeah. Now let's say, how do we use map method? So here is the thing. Let's say const my map equals to which you have to call, okay, which array are we planning to map? That's the first question. Which array are you planning to map? Let me copy this thing. Let me remove all of this so we don't get confused. Let's stick to this. Right.
What do you call mapping again?
Eh?
What do you call mapping? What is it?
Mapping is a method in JavaScript that is used to map through. Mapping is just, okay, keep going. Map through an array to be able to access each of the objects. Remember, this is our array. This front-end student data has 4 different objects, right? And then if you want to access each of these by our own layman way, we say front-end student data 0. That's to get the first one. We say data 1 to get the second one. What if you have about 1 million students? Will I have to start saying data 0, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, and all of this thing? That means I'll have millions of code, which is not friendly, and then it is not good. It's not the best practice. It's not even possible. You can't even do it that way. You shouldn't even do it that way, right? In the case where we have multiple or millions of data or objects inside my data or my array, so how do I map? How do I get or have access to each of these data at the same time, once and for all? So with that level, with that problem, then we have to use what? Our map method. The map method is used to map through, to loop through, or I would say, yeah, it's actually an array method that is used to loop through a given data. Looping through means check the first one. After that, check the second one. When you are done, check the third one. It's automatic. JavaScript will just keep looping until it gets to the last one. So that's how maps work. Now, the first thing, we want to store all that map, whatever, inside a function, inside a variable calling my map. Now, after doing that, what am I mapping exactly? Which data or which array am I mapping? That's the first question. Which data am I mapping here? Front end. So this is it. Now, after doing that, I want to map through, use .map. This is it. Then you open your parentheses, open two like this. So let me write it finish first and then we'll understand. Okay, so this is it. So we have front end. Don't worry about this constant my map. We are just trying to store this thing, all of these things inside this one. That's basically what this is. So focus on this one here. Explaining this is the array that we want to map is the first thing that will come in. Then dots. We have different method in JavaScript, different array method, right? So you have to call which of the method are you trying to use. If I don't want to use the map, I can say front end dot for each. We have for each, right? This is another method that you can use. If you don't want to use for each, you can say dot filter. This is another method. We have dot filter. We have dot anything, like it's a lot. So that's why you need to declare or you need to state the type of array method or the type of method you want to use at this particular moment. So in this our case, we are using what? The map method. And map is map anyway. You don't get to like say, okay, what if I don't want to use, I want to use maps. It's map. Map is map. It's something you don't change it. It's a constant variable. So front end student data.
Then it is inbuilt. It can't be changed.
Yeah, exactly. It can be changed. It's inbuilt. It's a JavaScript method that cannot be changed. So front end student data dot map. So that's the first thing. Okay, data, I want it to map. Front end, whatever the variable that you name it, I want you to map, right? So what are you mapping exactly? So the map function, or I would say the way you actually declare most of those methods is just by opening this kind of bracket. Remember, okay, I'm using an arrow function here. Yeah, I think I should use a normal function. Or let's just go with the arrow function because this is the ES6 function. This is the best practice, the method, there's no method now. So we have front end students data dot map, and then you open a parenthesis. Let's do that again. Dot map, that's the first thing, right? Then open a parenthesis number one. But then the way it is being written, you have to have another thing, another parenthesis like this. This parenthesis is what will take your argument or your parameter. Remember, when you are declaring the function, you say function, my function like this. You have a parenthesis that will take your argument. Sorry, your parameter. So in this case, after declaring something like this, we now need another parenthesis inside it that will now take what our parameter. Okay, or I will take our parameters, our argument, or whatever. So now after that, we have a callback function. Callback function are the function that, okay, what do you want to happen after we map all of these things? After we've mapped through our front-end data, what exactly are you expecting to happen? So then we have a callback arrow function. This is an arrow function, and then a callback block of code like this. So anything that happens here, what is the callback function. Okay, when you map, what do you expect us to do for you? After mapping, okay, we are mapping now, right? Okay, what do you want us to do? So what you want this method to do is what you are going to put inside this place. Right? So you don't have to be confused. All you have to do for now, you are going to work with this a lot, millions of times. So for now, all you have to do is to see or understand how you can write the code properly, how you can actually structure it properly. This is it. Front end, which is the data that you want to map through, dot map, right? Then open your parentheses, that's the first thing. Then open where you're going to have your parameters. Then after it, just immediately after it, put your arrow function and then your curly braces. George?
But how did we get the arrow function?
I'm more than confused. Okay. Okay, we'll do that again. Arrow function is not something you get. No, it's an inbuilt also. More like the way we have these curly braces is an inbuilt, so you don't get to have it.
So where do we press to get it?
What do you want?
Equals to equality sign.
It's just basically equal to. It's just okay. This is it. Yeah, the two together. When you say equal to, greater than. When you have greater than or equal to, is like this. Greater than or equal to is like this, right? So this is greater than or equal to operator. But then if you want to have a function, an arrow function is just like you having const var equals to const vary equals to a string. This equal to, now you can't say where do we get it from or why are we using it. It's just an operator. It's an assignment operator. The same thing as this equal to and then the greater than is also an operator. It's something that you use. They call it arrow function. They call it arrow. Like that's how you write it. It's something you use to declare your function, right? So there's no better explanation that I can give to that. But if you want to have your function or your method, right, you want to have it written, and then you need a callback function. So you use your arrow function like this, equal to, and then greater than.
I think
It's
what
not
you
something.
should type it,
Okay.
like just type the equals to and the greater than, just to make him understand what you are saying.
I've done
Okay.
it already. I understand.
You understand? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. So
He's an operator. I understand.
so definitely. So now this is how it looks like. Olajide, please don't get confused, right? Don't get confused. Thank you very much. Okay. Olajide, don't get confused, please. This is it. This is the method. Sorry, this is data that I want to map through. Like I said, forget about this one. This is just us trying to assign everything here into a variable. So what we need to focus on is this, everything here. We have front-end student data. I want to map through my front-end student data. Inside this data, I have a couple of objects, which I don't want to be accessing one after the other. I don't want to be saying front-end 1, front-end 2 every time. I'll have too many codes. So instead of that, I'm using my map method to be able to filter or map through everything and get the information that I need. Okay, so and then the only way you write, or sorry, the best way that you can write it currently is just by using dot map, then open your parentheses. Don't forget, open your parentheses after the dot map. Open your parentheses first, like this. Then after opening it, so everything you need is going to be inside these parentheses. Everything you need is going to be inside these parentheses. So after that, the first thing is what? Your argument. The first thing is your argument. So which is going to be inside, okay, let me see if there's a way I can explain this in here. Value ID. Okay, this is all right. The first thing will be here. This is the bracket that will take what? It's going to take your parameter or your argument or whatever you call it. So that's the first thing. Then secondly, just go to the next place, then spacebar, then your what? Your arrow function. Arrow function is always equal to and greater than. This is your arrow function. Okay, and then after that, you can now open your block of code like this, where you can have anything you want to do, anything you want to do, anything you want to do. Just cram this for now. If you're still confused, cram this for now. Okay, if I want to map, this is how I'm going to map. If I want to map, this is how I'm going to map. Please, just for now, if you're confused, just try as much as possible to cram it for now. Now, after doing that, okay, if I say console, why do we need this guy? Why do we need this parentheses here? You know, we have a couple of objects. We have 4 objects inside our data. We have object 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So we want to display the name of this object, of all of these objects at a time. We want to display the name. Like here, we have the name here. That's what we want to display at a time. We just want to list out all of them, their name, right? So that's why we are using the map, okay? And then to be able to display all the name at a time, you have to assume or represent each of these objects with a variable. You have to represent each of these objects with what? A variable. And the variable is going to be located inside this place, inside this parentheses. So we can say std, just assume anything. This can be anything. It can be anything. So if I say console.log std, clg std, I will get all of the objects together. Like everything like this, I will get it. See, but I have all the objects like this, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let me come again on that. we are mapping through our data. This is the data that I'm mapping through, right? An array. So front end student data dot map. Then after creating your parentheses, where you're going to have all the callback, then you have your small parentheses where you're going to have the representative of each of these objects. The representative of what? Each of these objects. So this represents each of the objects. But then because it is a map will always go after the first update, after working on the first update finish, it will now go again to the next one automatically by itself. You don't have to tell it to go first. It's going to go by itself automatically. Then it's going to go the first one, go to the second one, go to the third one, to the last object or the last item inside our front-end student data. All right. So that's why when you console.log std here, you get the first one, right? That's the map. Map first of all display the first one. Then it's going to display the second one again, display the third one, and then display the fourth one. Now let's now assume that I don't want all the objects at once, or I don't want all the objects to be displayed. I only want what their names. And remember, I said std is what is used to represent each of these objects. STD is used to represent each of the objects. I like to use students so that we can, when you see it next time, you can understand what you're doing. So students represent each of the students profile. But then I only need their name. So I will just say, consider log students.name. So this will give me the list of the name of all the students. As you can see, Sami, Messi, Aisha, and Chinwe. With using this method, I don't have to say console.log front end student data 0.name. This one will only give me the first one. So if I need the second one, I will now come down and say 1. I need the third one, I will say 2. This is a lot of code. Like I can't even stress myself going through this process. So for us to be able to display all the names at a given time, just display all the names at once, we employ the method of map. Front-end student data dot map. I want you to map through yourself, right? And then represent each of these objects by which of the keyword is student keyword. And then the representative is always located inside the parentheses like this, where you have it. So we now say equal to, this is the arrow function, to give us our callback. So what do you want in return after mapping through all of this data? I want to console.log all the students.name that we have inside the data. So then if I do this, I get Sami, Messi, Aisha, and Chinwe. Now remember, I want to be able to get all of this data stored in another variable. So I will now return. I won't just do console anymore. If I do console, I can only get this information inside this function. Like I can only get it, but I need to be able to have access to this information outside of the function. So for me to do that, I will just return like this. Return, right? I can say let's std data be equal to student dot map, right? Sorry, student dot name, then return std data. So then I can say console.log outside my map. Then I'll get all of the data outside. If I should do, let's assume I did not do this. Well, this one is just me trying to break it down so we can understand. I have to like store this thing first. I can at the same time do it this way. If I don't want to go to that extent, I can just do return student.name. Remove this. So I can do it this way like this. Return student.name. I'll still get my answer, right? But I want to break it down. But let's leave it this way. It's still very okay like this. Okay.
In this case where you just used console.log, what if you remove the array index of 0, 1, 2? Can't it print all the name or it will bring invalid?
Okay, you mean 79, 80, and 81?
Yes.
If I should remove this 0, it's going to, because I'm trying to access an array. I'm trying to access an array, not an object, right? I'm trying to access object inside an array. So I have to get the first object first before getting the object before accessing the name. So that's why I have to like get the first one using the bracket notation, and then after getting the first object, you now get the name. So it's going to understand.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that means you have to use mapping. Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you want to get all the first name or the name at the same time, so you have to use the map. So in this case, you can say, I want to return student.name and student. Okay, first, let's see. Are we all clear with this? Do we all understand this? What I did here was, okay, I need this. I need to get all the names, right? All the username only. I want to get them inside an array. So I const my map. I just want to store everything inside my map. Front end student data.map, students, like I said, representative of each of the objects. So now we say return student.name. Return student.name, which will return each of the, like I said, our map will not stop at 1. If after returning student.name for the first one, Sammy, it will now go again to the next one, to Messi, to now go again to the next one, which is Aisha, go again to the next one, which is what? Chinwe. So that's how it does. It will not stop at the first one. It will always go, until the last thing. If I should do this, let's say I just copy this and then add another item to the object now, and then I change this name to boss, something like that. So if I go down now, I will see it automatically here. So with this one, I don't have to like start doing another front-end student data 3 or 4 or 5 anymore. All I have to do is just add a different data to this, and then I'll get it directly here. Questions, please. Questions.
Hello, boss.
Are we good? Oh, wow, that's impressive. Okay.
Hello, boss. Hello?
Yeah, Muchi, I can hear you.
Okay. After the console.log my map, can we also, since it's in an array, can we also access the first by saying console.log my map and then the bracket 0 to give us some?
Definitely you can do that. Definitely you can do that.
Okay.
See? So my
sense.
map is 0. My map is 0. All right. So okay, now, well, there are a lot of ways. I won't be able to go deep into all of these things. There are a lot of ways in which you can use this map method. If you want to return only Sami from the map method, there are ways in which you can do that. If you want to return Aisha only, there are ways in which you can do that. So there are a lot of ways in which you can manipulate your map. And then let me explain this one before we go. After the first one, which is the representative, like I said, the student that represents each of the objects. The second parameter is always what? The ID, the index of the second parameter will always take the index of each of the data, each of the objects. If you pass student first, that's the first thing, which is representative, and then you put comma. Remember, it's still within the bracket. So you put comma, and then you put index, right? If you say return index like this, it's going to return the index of all the students. Now it's returning a 0. Okay, sorry. It's returning 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I will explain that. The first one represents each of the objects, right? While the second one represents the index of each of the objects. Index. Here we have index 1, 0, index 2, index 3, index 4, and index 5, right? So if I should do anything with student, if I should console.log student, I will get the entire object. And then if I should console.log, or if I should return index, I will get the index of each of the objects. So now I'm returning index and I'm getting what? This is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's going to get really messy. It's going to get really, really messy. But at the same time, I can say index equal to student. I don't think I should go to this place yet. This is more, let's just leave this for now. So I want to get all the students. I will say std, return std. That's getting the student entirely. This will give me all of the students. And at the same time, I want to get the index. I will get, that's each of the students. So why do we even need this index? Let's say I want to return only the student of index, let's say 3. So I will say if I don't want to go to this if statement yet, but we talked about it last week. That's if something, if a condition, if index is equal to 4, right? Then open your bracket, return std, return student. Else, return an empty string. So here we have it, or let's say return undefined. No, return null. Okay, let's use null. So this is what I'm trying to do here. So I want to return. Okay, I believe this is not going to really be so confusing. So I'm checking that, okay, my index now, I want to return the student of the student that is on index 4. That's the only student I need right now. I don't need every other student. So I'm now saying that if index is equal to 4, that means if the index here is equal to 4, remember we have index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if index is equal to 4, return the student of that index. Else, return null. That means don't return anything. Else, return null. Don't return anything. But no, let's not get to this place now before people start complaining. Let's just return our student.name. All right, now this is exactly where I want us to go. This is what I want us to do. I don't know if we still have time. Okay, we have just 8 minutes. All right, so I want to be able to display all this information after having my data. I want to display all this information to my user or in the UI. So let's do this first. I'm going to copy this data like this. This is the data. Go to my app.js, paste it here, right? And then I have, let's save this. So go back to my index. Let's see what we have currently in the index. Go to live. All right, this is what we have. So I will just do it under this place. Main, let's just use a section here. Okay. So I think we have Bootstrap. So let's say class py10, py5, and then let's say container small, container sm. Okay, so let's put py5 again. All right, so this is what I'm trying to do. I want to display each of these data in the UI, like on my web page, like this. I want to display each of this thing. And then remember, if you want to display something, you have to get that particular element first. Getting the element, and then you now do what? You say dot inner HTML of that element to display the data that you want, right? So now let's assume that I want to display all of this data inside a div. Let's just use a div. Let's say dot data, for example, right? So I will get this data first. That's the first thing I will get. Please, let's not get confused. We did this last week and we already understood what I'm talking about. So I want to display some data from my app.js inside this my data class here. All right, so here is what we do. I will say first thing first, I need to get my element inside my JavaScript. Let's data display be equals to document dot query selector. Remember, dot query selector. Then what am I getting? Dot data. Okay, so let me do console.log data first. Let's see what we have. Data display, save. Now let's go to the UI, inspect. Let's see if we're going to get that data, the element. Okay, we are getting a null. That's 41. Why are we getting a null? Dot display document of query selector data. Okay, I've not saved this yet. Sorry. So let me save that. And then let's see it again. Okay, yeah, we have that element. We have data currently. So I need to display something inside this element. What I need to do is just to do what? Dot inner HTML of this data. This data dot inner HTML is equal to this thing that I want to what? I want to display. So I can say, let me copy my const. Let me just do that. Let's create a function. Function display data function. Okay, display data function like this. All right, now I need to map something inside my function. So I can say front end student development dot, or let's say let each data be equals to front end development dot map. I'm sure most of us will be lost. All right, std, and then the index, right? I'll explain everything. I'll explain. Let's just get it one by one. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to display all of this data like this inside my UI. I want to display this thing to my user, to my client, right? So the first thing I need to do, I go back to my index. Where exactly did I want to display the data? So I created a section and a container, and inside the container, I created a div, call it data. So inside this data is where I want to display, I want to put everything from my JavaScript to be displayed. All right, so I call this data, right? Then inside my JavaScript, I said, let's data display. I have to, like, referencing that particular place now from what we did before. Document.query selector dot data, since I'm using a class, not an ID. So I store all of this inside data display, right? So I get console.log, and then I was able to get the element itself. That's the first thing first, get the element first. Then after getting the element, I can either say data display dot inner HTML is equal to front end student data, let's say 0 dot name. I can say this, right? And then I'll get, see, I'm getting Sammy now. Let me show you. Let me make this bigger. Let me make this bigger. Let's say FS or display 1. Okay, now let's save. All right, so I'm getting Sammy inside my div. Remember, I'm getting Sammy inside this div because I said this div, that div, which is data display dot inner HTML. So I want the inner HTML of this data to be equal to what? Front-end student data 0. So I'm getting the first data, the first object inside my front-end student data, and then I want to display what? The name. So that's why I'm getting the name currently, Sammy. If I should say 2, I'll get the next person, which is going to be the new name, Aisha. But in this my case, I don't want to do this because I want to get all the names at once. I want to display all of these names at once. So how do I do that? I have to map through my front-end student data and then do what? And then return what? Return the names. So let's assume I don't want to use function, so we don't get confused. I would say, let's each data be equals to front-end student data dot map. We already know this map. Then the first parameter, which is the representative student, right? Then the second one, which is the index. We may not even need that one now. Then your arrow function, then your code, your bracket code, or yeah. Then after this, we want to get all of the students' name. That's what I want to get. So I will say, let me just return it. Return student dot name, as simple as this. So returning student dot name, I will now say display, remove this first, remove this guy, display data dot inner HTML. Remember, our H data now is going to be an array of all of those names, right? All of the names. So display data display dot inner HTML will now be equal to what? Each data. So let me save this and see what we have. See, we have Samuel, Messi, Aisha, and Chinwe. As it's like very, very simple, as easy as that. So I was able to display all of this data that I named, which is the name only for now. I was able to display the name. Okay, the comma is coming from each data. Remember, each data is an array, and each of item inside an array is going to be what? Is going to be separated by a comma. That's why the comma is appearing there. But we are going to find a way to remove the comma. I will explain how we can remove the comma, right? I will explain that. So that's number one
Where
thing.
the
We're able
comma come from?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying, that each data like this is an array. Remember, is an array of strings, which is the name. And like I said earlier, when we are working with an array, each of the item inside an array is separated by what? By a comma. And in this case, we are what? We are assigning the entire array to our display data.inner HTML. That's why we are getting the comma like this. So remember, the comma is also inside the array. So we cannot remove it yet like this. So, but for us to remove it, we are going to get to that later. So, but what I'm trying to do now, I don't want to get the name only. I want to get the name properly arranged. I want to get the ID. I want to get the username. I want to get every of this information like this. I want to get it displayed in my UI. So I can do this. I can do return name. I can return an object, right? I want to return an object. I'll say, this is going to get really messy. I'll say std. No, let me not do it this way. All right, let's do it this way. So I'm looking at returning all the data that I have here, which include the name, the age, level, and performance, right? But then I have this index is just a div, right? So inside this div, I can create another card that will now display each of these data individually. I can create a different card or another card that will display each of these data individually. How do I do that? I'll say return, then create your div like this. I want to create an HTML inside this place. That's the meaning of this. I'm like, I want to create an HTML. So I will say div. What I mostly do for it to make it to be easier is I will come here and create my card first. Let me just create my card, right? Or instead of that, yeah, let me create my card first. Card. Then however I want my card to be, shadow, and then BG danger, for example, no, BG primary, right? Text white, right? And then so that's that. So I've been able to create the data inside my index of HTML. So I will just copy this. I don't need it, I need it inside my JavaScript. Just cut it out and carry it to your app, then paste it inside your template later right here. Just place it here, okay? So after placing it, just put your comma. Or before we even do that, before we do that, let's continue here. Let me undo. So here now, I want to display the name. So I will say P, or let me use H1 for the name. Let me use H1 for the name. H1, so I'll say name equals to, then I'll put the name. Which name am I willing to use? I want to use, let's just use name for now, right? Then under it, I want to display another thing, which is the level. So level. So level. Then under it, I want to display performance. Performance, let me just put that. Performance, right? And then under it, I will display the age. Age. This is more like a dummy. So because if I'm trying to write this thing inside my app, I won't get all those suggestions. If I'm trying to write it here, I'll have to type everything by myself, which I don't really have that time. So I just have to use this one. This one will make it easier for me. I can easily type it very fast. So after doing that, I will now just cut out the card, the entire card, cut it out, go back to save this, go back to your app.js and paste it inside your template literal like this. So what we are trying to do here is this entire syntax, say HTML syntax, I'm trying to put it inside my data div. I'm trying to put it inside this data div, right? It also works the same way. So, but then I want to what? So let's try something. Remember, I'm mapping through 4 items. I'm mapping through 4 items. So if I should save this now, and then I will get this thing in 4 different places, but with all this value or this data that I passed currently. See? So I have the first one, the name, the level, path, and age. Because I'm mapping through 4 different data. Sorry, 5 data. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm mapping through 5 different data. So I'm getting these 5. Right now, I have not yet passed the students anything inside it. That's why I'm getting all of this name, level, path, age. Like I said, remember, I said when you are mapping, it's going to do the first one based on the number of data that you have. I have 5 data, right? So this whole syntax will show first for the first person. It will show again for the second person, show for the third person, for the fourth and the fifth person, right? But then I have not passed anything into it. So that's why I'm still getting all of this thing like this. So now this is what I want to do. I want to now get this. So I will now replace this name with student.name. I need the name from the data. So I'll just do, remember, this is inside the template literal, remember. So I'll just do this. Template literal will always take this. Like this, I'll say student.name, right? Then the second one is level. It's still a template literal. So I'll do this, student.level, right? And then this is performance. So I'll say still a template literal. I'll say student.performance. And then this is age, right? So I'll say student.age. Now I'll save this. Remember, this is going to display all this information for the first person first. Then it will go again. Okay, I think we still have another person in front. It will now display all this information for the next person. Then it will go again to the third person, then again to the fifth person, and again to the last person. So let's save this and see what we have. Let's see. All right, so we have this. We have the first name. We have Sami, level 6, performance, excellent, and age. We have the next person, Messi, level, performance. Who is, what did you say? What did you say?
I said we are leaving the ID out. It's not important.
The one lie, I didn't get you.
As if we are leaving the ID for each person out.
Yeah, we don't really need to display the ID here. The ID is needed when you want to manipulate your map, right? But then let's assume we want to have the ID. The thing is, every data is
Let's see. So
Hello, are we together? Hello. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay, okay. All right. So where did I cut exactly? I think I must have missed at some point where Ron like asked the question. Was it my network? I thought I was still in the class. Somebody just put me to where I stopped. Although we're going to end the class now, but just let me know where I stopped from so I can pick it up from next week. Are we together? Hello, can you guys hear me? Oh, my network. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I hear you now.
Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, can we, I think I must have, my network has actually logged me out. So I don't know, where did I stop? Where did you guys hear me? What extent did you guys hear me so I can
Okay,
know
so
where to start from?
you were explaining the ID template later on.
Okay. I will just end it there for today. Let's just see what we have currently. So I said, just by adding another item here, just add another object here, you get to have another additional item. So if you need like 20 more items, all you have to do is just to keep adding an object, keep adding an object and other object. So, and at the same time, your styling, everything is going to be here also. You can decide to change this to danger, and then the old stuff will change to danger. So save, and then let's see what we have currently. Right, so we have a danger here. So this is how I will talk about this comma later, right? Okay, let me just do it finally. So for us to change that comma, I don't need this comma. The comma is actually included because I have a comma in my array, right? Because currently I'm actually mapping through it, and then I'm getting it back as an array, and I'm assigning it to my inner HTML. But I don't want that. I want to be able to, I want to remove this comma. So all I can just do, I can just say dot join. No, this guy will. So save, and then the comma will be out. Okay, so this is it. All right, let me just put margin bottom to this 5. Okay, or let's say margin Y. Sorry.
We can't hear you clearly.
Okay, so is any question? I'll end it from here.
Okay,
Any question, please?
question.
Any question, please?
I
Any question?
noticed that in
Okay,
the
okay.
outcome, we used H1, but the text is small. And where we use P, the text is large.
I can't hear you.
I said in our code, we used
I can't hear you. I can't hear
H1.
you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I said in our code, we use H1, but in the outcome, it's looking small. And where we use P, it is big.
Hello. The network
You
is
get
really,
my
really
question?
messy. Did you hear me? Can you hear me currently? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, that's better. All right, what's the question?
I said in this place, we used H1, but in the outcome, the text is small. And where we use P, the text is big.
I honestly, I don't understand that also. So I don't know why it happened. Maybe I have P somewhere.
I'm
I'm
going to
coming.
recognize it.
Yeah. So I don't really know why it happened like that. But then let's see, we use P for everything. I don't know, maybe I've styled my P somewhere and then I make it bigger. So let me see. P. I say text white. Everything should be. So now let's save it. Let's see. Okay, I don't really know why the P is getting bigger here. Well, but that's just the idea of everything here. Let me just use font bold. Let's see. Okay. So Jasmine, I saw your hand up. Jasmine, I saw your hand up.
Yes, the thing is, I don't understand anything. Like when you moved to the app.js, that was when I stopped. Like I didn't get everything you said there. So I know it's late and the class is almost over. So I was just saying.
Okay. We are going to like talk about it again next class. But before then, just see if you can watch the video. I know my network has been really messing me up also, but then see if you can watch the video because I'm already out of my time and I've been getting calls already. So but basically what I did was just to go to my index, create the data that I need first. I needed something like this, right? So I created a dummy data like this. So after creating that dummy data like this, just one, I now copied the data, which is a card I copied inside this place. Go to my app.js. Already, I've been able to select my elements where I want to display this data from. I want to display this data inside my elements here. So I already selected this data using .query selector. So .data. Then I said, let each data, I'm just mapping. Remember how we mapped, right? So let each data be equals to this .map and all of this. So I'm returning that card, that element, that HTML element that I copied. Remember, I've created a dummy data earlier. So I'm now returning that dummy data. I'm returning it like this. But then I needed to put it inside a template literal because I want to add variables in between the HTML syntax. I want to add variables like this in between. That's why I had to use template literal. You understand? So then I returned all of this like this. But because I'm mapping through 5 items, so map will always return the first one, then go again, check if we still have more, return the second one with the current data of the object. It's going to work on the object for the first one, the first object, get the name, the ID, the level, performance, and age, return it. Then come again and check the second person, get the information, return it, come again, return the third person, fourth person, and the fifth person. So all of those information is going to be returned and stored inside each data. So we now say this data display equals to this data display that we already got in here as our element dot inner HTML. The inner HTML of this data display will now be equals to each data. Forget this join for now. Will now be equals to that each data. Remember, all of this is being returned and stored inside this place. So we now say this data dot inner HTML will now be equals to all of those data that is being joined. And because it's HTML now, HTML syntax, we will not be getting all this div. All we are going to get is what our styling and the variables that we have inside this place. That's why we're able to get the styling and the variables, the values we have inside it. So, but then if you look at it, if I save this now, I will be getting a comma at the bottom like this. I'll be getting a comma. The comma is coming out because each data is an array, and an array will always be separated by the comma. An array will always have a comma separation. So that comma is also displaying here. So there's a method in JavaScript that is used to remove the comma or to join arrays. So I will explain that method later, but this is just basically the method for us to see dot join, and then here like this, just put a space bar. So I don't want comma. If I want to join with comma, I will add comma, then I will see it here. I'll see it here. I'll see the comma here. If I want to join with dash, I'll add dash here. If I want to join each of the array with dash, I'll add dash, then I will get dash here. You see dash, see? But in this case, I don't want to join with anything. I want to join with an empty string. So I'll just remove this and add an empty string. So I'll save it now, and then I'll see an empty string there. There won't be anything there. So that's why I had to use the join. Without the join, I'll be getting that comma. So, but then we'll talk about the join later. So basically, what we did was to get the element we want to use, want to display. Then we say inner HTML of that display after we select the element is equals to this h data, then dot join. Like I said, don't worry about this join yet. Just focus on the h data. Then how do we map it? We say our data dot map. Then the student, which is representative of each data, they will now get the student name, student ID, student level, performance, and the age. So that's just basically all we'll do. But you can still go back and watch the video. But next week we'll still talk more about it and we'll do more tasks about it. Although we are going to have a task today. I don't know how, but we're going to have a task today or tomorrow. So let's just prepare our mind. Okay, the next question, please. I'll stop recording now. So they can start doing all that stuff. So thank you very much, guys. We'll meet again the same time next week. So let me stop recording.